All right. Hey, everyone. How you doing? Cool. Thanks for joining me for my session on building Teams apps with the Power Platform. My name is April Dunnam, and I am a Power Platform advocate at Microsoft. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, MVP alumni, all of that, content creator. Fun fact about me, I love karaoke, so I call myself the karaoke queen. There's all the ways that you can get in touch with me after this if you have any questions. Never hesitate to reach out. Happy to help with anything that might come up. And of course, we'll have time for questions after this as well. Of course, thank you to all of our sponsors for making this event possible. So happy to be here, to see you, all of your wonderful faces in person. So thank you to everyone, Microsoft, HSO, Proximo, PwC, everyone that you're seeing here. Just a big round of applause, and thank you to all of our great sponsors here. All right. So without further ado, we only have 50 minutes, so I want to save time for questions. So I'm just going to dive right in here. So what are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about the Teams dev landscape. So we're going to talk about obviously building low-code apps on Teams, the Power Platform, but I want you to have a good holistic picture of everything that's possible in Teams as far as development. We're going to talk about the low-code capabilities, and we're going to have a lot of demos, and then I'm going to leave you with some resources if you want to learn more. Right, so the Teams dev landscape. So there's lots that we can do with Teams, and when we really think about Teams, it's an application platform. So everything from being able to have tabs. So for maybe a show of hands for everyone here in the audience, who is using Teams right now? Okay, great, so everyone. So you're familiar with tabs, you probably use that. That's a good way to take, say, a single page web application or anything they're using. It might be a SharePoint page, a website, it could be a Power App, and embed that as a tab easily so you can get to that. We have bots inside of Teams. I'm going to show you how we can create bots with a Power Platform in a second. Messaging extensions, to be able to actually take actions on individual messages. We have task modules. We can even have in-meeting applications, so that we're in a Teams meeting, we can have an application load up on the sidebar there and interact with that. We have adaptive cards, which are a great way to collect inputs and send and do things like approvals, which I'll be showing you here in a little bit. And webhooks and connectors and integrations with the Microsoft Graph so that we can consume data from the overall Microsoft ecosystem. So lots that we can do here. So one thing I wanted to really point out with this slide is that we can not only, Microsoft Teams isn't just for low-code development. There's a pro-code side of things as well if you want to do all, encompassing like kind of development on that. But what I'm going to focus on today is the low-code aspect. Just know there's even more that we can do with that. So Teams really is a full low-code platform. So with Teams, we have what's called Dataverse for Teams. So not only can we take applications we've already built in the Power Platform, like Power Apps that we've already built, Power BI dashboards, bots, and Power Automate workflows. We can integrate those with Teams, but we also have Dataverse for Teams, which is a subset of the capabilities of Dataverse that we can use to build apps within Teams. So why would we maybe use Dataverse for Teams over, say, taking an existing Power App that we built and putting it in Teams? For one, the integration is more seamless. So the styles when you build a Power App, say from Dataverse for Teams, are going to match the styles inside of Teams. So it's going to look more like a true native Teams application if you build it that way. And then we get the capability of Dataverse with that we can take advantage of, all included in our Teams licensing. So what's the big advantage of Dataverse? Why would we want to use that, say, over maybe a SharePoint list like we all probably have used before? With Dataverse, we get relational data storage, right? And I'll show you a little bit of the specifics in a minute about the type of data storage that we can get and the capacity and all that. But it's deeply integrated with the Power Platform, so we can easily and seamlessly build Power Apps and workflows against the data that's stored in Dataverse. And we can take it a step further and do things like have business rules and validation, and even role-based security, things that aren't maybe possible, say if we're using SharePoint, or maybe are a little bit difficult when we're using a SharePoint list. And we can import and export data with data flows. So if you need to be able to get data in, say from like, maybe it is a SharePoint list, maybe it's a SQL Server, and have it all pulled into this one data location and pulled out, Dataverse is great for that, and it has built-in mechanisms to make that possible. There's also built-in security and governance. So anytime we're building solutions, right, we want to make sure that we can secure it and that it's governable. So with Dataverse for Teams, it has the enterprise-grade security already included within Teams. So it kind of models the security that we have within Teams with your members, our owners, and our guests. So it aligns to that security model naturally. So we have access to environments that's restricted to the Teams members, owners, and guests. And we have the ability to define security rules as well. So one thing that often comes up with Teams is, well, I have to build an application in Dataverse for Teams in a given team. What if I want that application to be used by everyone in my company and not just a certain team? Well, we can share these applications beyond the scope of the team that you build it in, which is relatively new functionality since Dataverse for Teams was released. Now, when we talk about building applications on Teams, it's important to understand the different scopes of applications that we can build. There's the team scopes, and really when you think about this, it's just your experience exists in the team content. So Microsoft Teams is organized around the concepts of having different teams. You might have a team for each of your organizations, right? So with these Teams applications, if you think of it from like maybe a bots like kind of play here, that's available in all of your channels. The other scope that we have, though, is a personal scope. So if you've ever, maybe show of hands if you've ever interacted with a flow bot inside of Microsoft Teams. That's an example of a personal scope Teams use case there. So it's a one-on-one chat with you and the flow bot. So those are the two main buckets of solutions we can build, either a personal scope or the team scope, or kind of more breadth adoption and usage of your apps. Now, the cool thing, again, like I said about Teams is, and building in Teams with low code, is you can leverage what you've already built. So you don't have to start from scratch, like, oh man, I already have this invoicing solution built in, say, Power Apps or whatever, and if I want to use this in Teams, I'm going to have to go Dataverse for Teams and recreate everything. You don't have to do that. And even beyond the scope of Power Platform, say if you have a single-page web application or a SharePoint web part, that can easily be a Teams tab. Bot, whether it's a Power Virtual Agents bot or a Bot Framework bot, whatever it is, you can have that as a Teams bot. Office 365 connectors can be Teams connectors so that you can consume that data inside of Teams. Your web services can be messaging extensions. Your outgoing webhooks can be custom bots, and your Power Apps that you built in the standalone Power App portal can be a tab or personal application inside of Teams. So you don't have to start from scratch, and there's a good link that I have listed there, a bit.ly link designed for Teams that kind of walks through all of these different scenarios here that I mentioned. Now, one of the cool things, so this is going to lead into the first demo that I want to show you, that we can do with Teams is something called adaptive cards. So with adaptive cards, this just gives us a way to enhance our experience. So with rich, interactive, and flexible cards. Now with these cards, they're supported on your web, mobile, and desktop devices, and they allow for quick interactions. So we've probably all used these in some capacity. So one more show of hands here, have we used approvals inside of Flow, right? That is using adaptive cards. So that's a great example. And I said Flow, I should say Power Automate. Sorry, I knew I was gonna do that once at least. So that's a great example of adaptive cards, and one of the easiest ways to get started with integrating low-code scenarios inside of Teams. So leading me here into my first demo, I want to talk about the approvals application that's baked into Teams. So let's switch over to my desktop now. And we're going to open up Teams. And you might not know this, have any of you used the built-in approvals app? So if we go to the left navigation here, you'll see that we have this new approvals app inside of Teams. Now, I guess one more show of hands, sorry, a lot of hands showing here. Anyone use this approvals app? Okay, a few of you, great. So this application actually is using Power Automate behind the scenes to facilitate these approvals. Now, one of the really cool things about this, though, and let me actually zoom in on my screen just a bit so you can see this a little bit better, is right now I don't have any approvals, but you see we have this create or manage templates. So oftentimes when you're thinking of a solution that you're looking to build, you might go straight to Power Apps if it's like collecting information, right? It's like, okay, I need to do maybe a leave request. I need to build a Power App for that. Well, possibly not, depending on your need. If we look at these templates that we have in the approvals application, you see that we have a request leave template using the approvals Power Automate engine in adaptive cards. So to show you how this works, if I click on this leave request option, it's going to give me a preview of a form where I can submit a leave request natively inside of Teams, right? It's going to give everything that you would expect with that. What is your leave type? Is it sick leave, paternity, annual, your start date, end date, and any remarks that you need? So I can fill this information out in this preview. So maybe I'm taking some annual leave next week. I'll fill that out here for the June 13th or the 17th. I'll say need a vacation desperately. And we'll click next. So we can see a live preview of what this is going to do. So it's going to ask us now, what type of instance will this be? Do I want this to apply for everyone in my organization, only specific people, or to a specific team? So this is an example of we don't have to define something just to a team. We can actually make org-wide applications here. So I can select this org-wide option because I want everyone in my organization to be able to submit a leave request. And I can see that it's going to create a Azure Active Directory group for me called the Approvals App Admin Team so that we can facilitate pushing this application out in Teams to use. So it's going to create basically a leave request system for me, all using this approvals application. So it's going to give it a minute, and crossing my fingers that the demo gods are with me today because it's a live demo. I did not pre-record anything. So we'll see here. Hopefully it'll be pretty fast here. So it's creating a group behind the scenes to facilitate this solution that we're building. So it's doing a lot of it for us again. So a big benefit, I've created leave request solutions in Power Apps before, and depending on your complexity, that might still be the avenue you need to go down, but if you just need something very simple, this could be a great approach. So it looks like it created my group, so I'm going to click Done. And now I can configure this template to use. So I can see the different categories that I have here. So I'm just going to leave everything the same and click Next so we can move through this. Now I can design my form. So for the leave types, I can customize those. So if I'm seeing something here that maybe isn't there that I need, so maybe I need a sick, or we already have sick. See, what's another leave type that we might have? We'll say a mental health day, right? So I can add that option easily here. I can choose whether this is required and delete and customize this however I want. There's my start and end date fields. I'm going to leave that as is, and we can even add new fields if we want. So we do have the ability to customize this. We are limited a bit to only have choice, text, and then date fields. So if you need anything beyond that, again, you'll probably want to go to Power Apps. But if it's a simple case, then this could work. So it looks like I have everything I need. I just need the leave type, start and end date, and remarks. So I'm going to click Next. We also have the ability to add file attachments with this approval capability. So if we want to attach, like if we're sick, a doctor's note or something like that, we can select yes on here, and it will use Dataverse capabilities to be able to upload files there. And then for the approval, the approver, we can either let the user filling out the request enter the approver for this. We can specify a group of approvers, or we can actually make their direct manager the approver, which is pretty cool. So it's going to know based off of your Azure AD settings and who you have the manager filled out as, who your approver is, and it's going to fill that in there. So let's just do that. I'm just going to leave it as let the approver enter because I don't think I have a manager filled out in my site here. And then finally, we have responses. So by default for this approval process, it's just going to have approve and reject. If we want custom responses for any reason, like need more information possibly, if you want to send it back, we can add that here. And then whether comments are required, we can turn that on or off. So I'm going to leave everything as is, and we're going to preview this application here. So it's going to get everything ready. So we can give it a name first. So what is the name of the request? I'll type in vacation. It's going to get direct manager as the approver. Here's my leave type. Let's see if we have everything in there. Looks like it did. There's our mental health day that we added. That looks great. And there's our start and end date. So now it looks like everything is good. So I'm going to click publish, and this will publish the template where we can start using this inside of Teams. So we can see this is org-wide. Here's our leave request template. It's enabled. So now I can click on that, and we're ready to go. So again, just something that I think a lot of people don't know about because it's fairly new functionality in here. And you see the leave request was just one of the templates. If we go back into Create or Manage and click New, We see we have all different kinds, from whether it's business card, vehicle applications, verification letters, business trips, overtime, all of that. Definitely check this out if you haven't looked at it already for those simple kind of form use cases and approval cases inside of Teams. Really powerful functionality here. And we can filter as well too. If we apply these to different teams, whether it's org-wise or a different team, we can filter like the apps that I have for just this team, for example, or whether it's org-wide. So lots we can do there. Now let's switch back to the presentation because I have a lot to cover, and I'll come back probably to Power Automate here in a second. So I'm going to start my slides again. So that's a quick overview of the approvals in Power Automate. Now, we can't avoid talking about licensing when we're talking about Dataverse for Teams, right? I know that always comes up, so I just want to quickly cover what we get with Dataverse for Teams. So included at no additional cost in this, we can add Dataverse for Teams to any team, and it supports 1 million records. So that's how it works here for each team. So when you're building these solutions, you get an environment, a Power Platform environment per team. And with that environment, you get 1 million records worth. So of course, if you need more than that, if you're going to have really high volume process and lots of data, then we have an upgrade path. And the solutions that we can build in this, it's bots, it's those approvals, Power Automate workflows, it's Power Apps, Canvas applications, Power BI dashboards, and all that we can build. And we can use any of the Power Platform capabilities in standard connectors. But the other cool thing that I really love about this, and I'll show this in a second, is the ability to integrate with Azure API management. So if you have an API that you want to integrate with and you host it in Azure API management, if you were to build that in a, say, standalone application or Power Automate workflow, you would have to have a premium plan. But if we're using Dataverse for Teams, we can actually integrate with those API management connectors at no additional cost. So it's a really cool way to build Fusion apps, right? To integrate with your APIs and have those within Teams. Now, of course, we have an upgrade path as well. So that's the cool thing. If you start off building something in Dataverse for Teams and realize, well, I need more capacity, or maybe I need more granular security, or some of the other things, or I need to use a premium connector, right? We can easily upgrade that application, that solution, into the full-fledged version of Dataverse to take advantage of all the capabilities that it gets. Now, another thing, the next thing that I want to show here is some of the pre-built templates. So if you've never built an app in Dataverse for Teams, a Power App, it's very similar to apps that we build inside of the make.powerapps.com portal. But it's a little bit slightly different because we get some pre-built templates. They're responsive out of the box, so we need to accommodate for building responsive apps and all that. So a great way to get started is by investigating some of the pre-built templates that are built on top of the Power Platform for Teams. And there are a few here. The ones that I really like that I want to highlight are the inspection, issue reporting, and ideas templates. So they're plug-and-play applications, and it really shows the power of how we can build an application, package it all up, package up your data model and your application and workflows into one solution that you can single-click and install and use. So with that, let's go to our next demo, and we'll show how we can create an application in Power Apps inside of Dataverse for Teams. So back here in Teams, I'm going to click on the left rail on the 3 dots, and we're going to open up the Power Apps application for Teams. And if you haven't installed this before, you can click on Apps and just do a search for Power Apps and add that in. So this is actually adding a personal app into your Teams so that you can create Power Apps directly inside of Teams. So from here, you see I built quite a few apps in here that we can look at, but what I'm going to do is go straight to this Build tab. So on the Build tab, we're going to get a list on the left-hand side of all the different teams which we have Power Platform solutions built in. So you can see, like in the IT site, we have different sections. And of course, come on, don't do this on me. Just don't do me this way. Don't be like that. Okay. Crossing my fingers. So we have a built by this team. So those are applications that you built from scratch in here. Installed apps is if we use one of those templates or install an app from the App Store, they're going to show in this installed app section. Now you see I've created a Scottish Summit site here, or team. And if it loads, hopefully, I haven't built anything in this yet. So I wanted to show you the experience of what it looks like if you haven't built anything inside of Dataverse for Teams yet. It should pop up with a message here letting me know that I haven't built anything. So to get started, select New. But we can also import solutions, so that's another cool thing. So if you have maybe a solution that you've built in make.powerapps.com and you decide that you want to make it a Dataverse for Teams app, we can actually just import it in here and not have to recreate it from scratch. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to go to import solution actually, and there's a really awesome solution in one of our training materials here. So let me go back real quick. So we have Dataverse for Teams in a Day, which I'm going to send you a link to if you want to do some more hands-on training for that. But if we go to this, completed modules, we're actually going to upload, and hopefully it'll work and be fast, this solution. So it's a Dataverse for Teams Power App for a home office setup. Now when I go to import, you see it's showing all of the different assets, things included in the solution. So we have a few tables in Dataverse for asset categories, users requests, and then we have a Canvas application. So it's showing me everything included in the solution. All I have to do is click import, and I'll initiate, and that will go through and upload everything so I can have that app inside of Teams. So sometimes this can take a little bit, so I'm going to let that run, and we're going to go explore some of the other applications that we have that I've already built in here, some of the pre-built apps. So first, what I'm going to do is going to go to our Teams tab where that's importing. And I believe on our IT site is where I have, some of these out-of-the-box templates that I was talking about. So one of the out-of-the-box templates we have is milestones. So this is really good for project management. I just want to show you how responsive and how good these look in the Teams context of these apps. And I'm zoomed in a bit. That's just why it looks a little weird, just because of how much I'm zoomed in so you can see the screen. But it looks like, so the Power Apps is ready. I just installed this, so I just have to click Got It for the first time. And let me zoom out a bit just so it looks a little bit better at least. And we can see, like, you probably, if I didn't tell you that this was a Power App, you probably would know that this was a Power App. It looks like a native Teams application. So we have on the left-hand side all of our projects that we have. We can see milestones with cool charts and dashboards, and even activity logs. So this is a whole holistic working application using one of the templates. And the templates are actually available here in the Apps tab. So if we go to Apps and Build for your org, we can see the different applications that we have, like Profile Plus, Perspectives. We have Built with the Power Platform tab as well, that has even more of the templates that we have. So we can build solutions. Some of these you see aren't the out-of-the-box templates. Like I built a Wordle application in Power Apps, and I pushed that out to Teams. And so if we want to use that, I can just click on that, and we can see the overview, and I can add that as a personal app, and I can actually play Wordle here on Teams with everyone. I don't know, like if anyone's still obsessed with that, I mean, or if it's died off by now, but I still play it. And so we have... So we have a working Wordle app here in Teams. I optimize this for phone. That's why you see a lot of space on the left and right. But I can easily make this app responsive. So I don't know, let's try. Just let's test out Wordle while we're here. I'm waiting on that solution to install. So, oh wow, cool. So I always start with Power. It's probably cheesy, you know, my cheesy starter word. But it looks good. So you can see it's just a working app there. All right, let's check on that solution and see if it's installed. So we're going to go back to our Power Apps application. And we will go, okay, cool. So it looks like it imported successfully. So if we go back to that built by this team, we should see, there we go. So on our Scottish Summit team inside the Power Apps application, we see all these tables and the Canvas application, it looks like. So let's open up this home office setup Canvas app and just take a look at what it looks like. So you see we have a Power Apps, gonna do it to me again. We have the Make.Power Apps portal baked right here into Teams. So hopefully second time's a charm again. Now that is one thing I'll say about, you know, Dataverse for Teams. It can be a little slower than the Make.PowerApps.com portal, so we got some work to do there still, but hopefully it'll load here. Well, we have everything that we can do in make.powerapps.com available here in the Teams authoring canvas. Now, again, the cool thing about this being it's responsive out of the box. So if I were to play this application quickly, you can see it's a very simple app where we can add a new request. This is a form's going to pop up here, so I want to work from home. We can choose the asset category, so some simple drop downs. I think computer was one, and I might have to fill in some data in the data tables. Probably is why nothing is showing up. I forgot to do that. But you see it's a relatively straightforward application, which I could further customize here in the authoring canvas by adding in different data and objects. And another thing I want to point out is a lot of people assume when we're using Dataverse or Teams, we can only have data in Dataverse. If you still have data in SharePoint or Excel or wherever, any of those standard connectors, we can add those in here. So we can have one app in Dataverse or Teams that mixes and matches data across different applications here. And of course, Azure API management, like I mentioned. All right, cool. So that's that. Now, one app that I wanted to show you too that's really cool. So I'm going to actually go back here now that I showed you the sample app. We're going to go into the Build tab. And I believe, actually, it's in the Power Apps portal. So this app, so let me show you how to take an existing app that you built and integrate that here into Dataverse for Teams. Because I already showed one that I did, but just the process, I want to show you how easy it is. So I have an app called Quick Chat. This is built by one of our amazing Power Platform Global Black Belts, Amber Weiss. So it's a pretty cool Power app where it's able to read your calendar. So I can select my calendar here. And it's going to show all the events that I have. And so have you ever been in a meeting, right? And maybe you want to have an internal back channel chat with everyone to talk about, right? So maybe it's like an Ask Me Anything meeting or whatever, and you want to have some kind of informal back channel chat. Well, this Power App facilitates that for you. So I can click Set Up Internal Chat. It's going to be able to recognize everyone that's in the meeting or in that meeting invite, and it's going to set up a Teams chat with those people using Power Automate behind the scenes. So pretty cool application, which I probably would want inside of Teams so I could easily access it. So if I want to do that, all I have to do is if I select the app and make.powerapps.com, you see we have this Add to Teams button. So it really couldn't get any easier. I can just simply click Add to Teams, and it's going to open up Teams here, and I'm going to use my web app instead. And it's going to prompt me to say, where do I want to put this, and which Teams channel do I want to put this application. So it should pop up here any minute. There we go. So it's getting information about it. So if I click the drop down on add, I can see I can add that to a team or to a chat. So I might add that to a particular team, like maybe our Scottish Summit team here. And I just click Setup tab. And just really with the click of a button there, I have a Power App that I've already built integrated in Teams as a tab. So now I can save that. We can even post to the channel to let everyone know that we just added this great new app into our team. And there we go. So here's our quick chat application. And just to see if it works, let's go to our calendar and let's set up an internal chat for this AMA coming up. And it says our Teams chat is being created. Gives us a nice message pop up, and Power Automate should do its thing in the back end and create the chat. So just multiple ways. Again, if you have an existing solution, all you have to do is add to Teams, or if you want to start from scratch, use one of our templates or click New, and you can easily get started. This link to this application, Amber has it on her GitHub, so I will share that link in the slide later on if you want to use that really cool application that she built there. All right, so let's go back to the slides real quick because time is running away from me. I want to leave time for questions. All right, so we showed Power Automate integration. We showed Power Apps integration. Now, the only other thing I want to touch on again is that API management, because I think this is a really powerful use case and a reason that you might want to consider Dataverse for Teams. Being able to create that API management connector and use that in your Power Apps and your Power Automate workflows. So we've actually made this process way easier. In API management, we have a Create Power Platform connector. So I just want to show you like how quickly we can have a Power Platform connector of an API management hosted app. So you see I created Power Connector. I'm just going to tell it what environment to publish to. I'm going to create that. It's going to export my connector that I have to my Asset Management API. And it says it's successfully imported. So now if we go back to Power Apps and look at our custom connectors, without me having to do anything, without me having to fill in all of the REST API calls and all that manual stuff, right? It just created the connector for me, and it's ready to go. It has the security, it has the definition, I can the code behind that I have included and everything. So now I can go into a flow. You see how fast this is, and I can get employees, call my endpoint for get employees in the API. and integrate with that. So this is how quickly, with API management, we can get a connector up and going and then use that same connector inside of Dataverse for Teams at no additional licensing costs, which I know we all love. All right, and there's our API. So just again showing how we get to that. There's all my methods that I have in my API that I can choose. This did all of it for me with API management. It's pretty cool. And all right, so there we go. So just rename that, and then we can fill that out. First name, last name, and all that stuff. And then we can just test it really quickly just to show you that it actually works. We can pull in dynamic content as well from our trigger. So I can fill in like a first name and last name, and it can go and get that information. So if we test it, we'll do a manual test here. We'll fill in some data. So there's our API, like a first name, and run the flow. And we should get a green success message here. Yep, there we go. And everything works successfully. So that's just how quickly that you can get up and running with creating connector and Azure API management. All right, now the last piece of the puzzle here, demo-wise, is building a bot inside of Dataverse for Teams. So bots are a natural fit for Teams, right? Like I said earlier, we probably all use the Flow bot in some capacity. I know a lot of us have. So how do we build bots with low code in Dataverse for Teams? We do that with Power Virtual Agents. So if we click on the three dots on the left-hand side and go to Power Virtual Agents, that'll open PVA. How many of you have used Power Virtual Agents? Cool, quite a few of you. What I love about it is just how quick it is to get started and how easy it is. So let's just build a quick bot here. We'll do Start Now. And there we go. So again, like anything that we build in Teams, we're going to associate this with a channel. So we'll use our Scottish Summit channel. And it's going to load our bot here. And so bots are organized, I guess the main thing to know, by topics. So with topics, if we want to build, say, a personal assistant bot, and maybe we want to have it check our calendar or create a meeting invite or anything like that, those would be separate topics that we might have. So this is going to load, and we can build out our topics here and get a bot up and going. And hopefully, it won't take the remaining time that we have to finish this process. So let's just call this, I don't know, simple FAQ bot, right? They do support multiple languages, as we see here. I'm going to choose English, but you can choose your language of choice there. And now it's going to go through and create our bot. And with Power Virtual Agents, the main thing, so bots, we can do questions to the users, we can post messages, but if we want to do any actions, like maybe we want to go pull information from a database to look up an order number, perhaps, we can use Power Automate for that. So we don't have to learn any new technology, we just go call a flow, get the information with using Flow like we're already used to, and then get started. All right, so as I mentioned, bots are organized in topics. So on the left-hand side here, if we go into topics, we see we get a lot of sample topics so that we can kind of understand how this works. So if we look at this, oh, you love that. And then it likes to refresh on you, which is great. It just keeps things interesting. And we'll go back to topics there. So let's look at this a simple topic just so you can get a feel for what these look like. So it's really similar to building out a flow when you look at it, because we have kind of our trigger, right? So our trigger is our different topic phrases, right? So we might want to know, when are you closed, when are you open? Those are the natural questions that we might ask the bot to kick off this topic path. So in here, I can do a message. So this is just showing a simple hard-coded message that we can pass in, and then ending the conversation. But we can do more than just simple messages. So if you look at some of these other sample topics, like this one, a topic with conditions and variables, we can actually ask the user for different inputs. So if I scroll out here, there we go, and kind of zoom around. So like for this one, I want to know, I want a laptop, maybe I want to know, I want one that's powerful for gaming, so we can ask follow-up questions, right? So here I'm asking a question on, do you see yourself as a home user, a gamer, or a business user? And we have these different options that the user can select. And what it's doing is it's saving those responses to a variable that we can then use. And what's cool is once you have those responses built out, it automatically adds all these notes that you're seeing, these for conditions. So if you say, I'm a gamer, it builds that out, and I can have a custom hard-coded message below that, maybe with a follow-up question. You can just follow the natural conversation path to build out your bot. So it's really as simple as that to get started. So we're running a little bit low on time, so let's just see what this bot looks like. So what is the question? What is the best product for me? Let's test this trigger topic here. So it has built-in testing on the left-hand side at the bottom. This is another thing I love. So I can type in one of these trigger phrases, like what is the best product for me? And press enter. And another thing I love, I'm horrible at spelling, so if you misspell something, it still recognizes what you say because it's using that natural language in the background. So here are the options that we have, and you see on the right-hand side when we're testing that it has a green check mark. It just lets me know, similar to in Power Automate, as we go through, that everything's working correctly. So I can say I'm maybe a business user, and then now it's going to find had the hard-coded message there, and then a follow-up question, shall I add this to your cart? So I could say yes. And then it adds it to the cart and kind of goes through the path. I can see and follow my check marks. So it looks like everything went successfully. So we're looking good there. Really simple and easy to get started with Power Virtual Agents. And we can publish these and have those show up here on the left-hand side instead of Teams to interact with. So I believe on here, should have a bot somewhere. But let's just publish this one. I'll just show you how quick it is to publish. So I'll do that. And we'll publish that. It's going to prompt us here to say where do we want to put this bot. So we're going to go to availability options. And we can add that to our Scottish Summit team. And we can start using it. Cool. All right, there we go. And we can always copy the link too to share our bot with anyone. And this is just one way to build bots. Like I said, this is the low-code approach, but there's multiple ways. And we can see, I have my sound on, that scared me. There's our FAQ bot there. So we can start chatting with it. Now this is a personal conversation with the bot here. So that's how I would interact with it as a end user here. So I can say I think the other one was what are your hours? So we can just make sure it works. That was one of our sample topics there. And there you go, it replies with the conversation note there. All right, cool. So getting close to the end here, wanted to leave with resources and leave at least 10 minutes for some questions. So looks like we're doing good there. So again, just to kind of summarize, why would we want to build low-code solutions on Teams? Well, one, Teams is a very mature platform, and it has 270 million active users. When I asked everyone if you're using Teams, pretty much everyone raised their hand. So it makes sense to build your applications where your users already are. Not make them go to multiple different locations to interact with the application that they need to do their day-to-day job. As you saw today, it's very easy to get started, and it offers robust and security management tools. I didn't really touch on that, but I can show you the admin center quickly if we have time, if we don't have a ton of questions, to see what's included there. And of course, it's included in your Microsoft 365 licensing, so you don't have to worry about incurring any additional costs. Now, the resources that I wanted to leave you with, we have a great Learn path on Microsoft Learn for getting started with Dataverse for Teams, which I included a short link to there. So just great intro-level guided learning there. That Dataverse for Teams in a Day material is available to download, to walk through. There's all kinds of hands-on labs in there that walk you through that first application scenario that I showed you that we imported for the home office request. So that also includes not only Power Apps, but a Power Automate and a Power Virtual Agent bot lab that you walk through in that. So really great material there. If you want to learn more about, I mentioned API management and that kind of integration scenario, definitely check out the Fusion Dev approach to building Power Apps because it touches on how to integrate with API management. And then, of course, the easiest way and the best way to learn is just to get started, go to Dataverse for Teams, click File, New Application, try it out, and see what you have. All right, cool. And, of course, thank you to our sponsors and all of that. And about perfect timing, time for about 10 minutes here for questions. So, and again, if we don't have any questions, I can show some stuff in the Admin Center, but feel free to just raise your hand if you have any questions. Happy to answer that. Yes?
Yeah, so one of the things I see we did
Yes, so the question there was, when we build Dataverse for Teams apps, we get environments created for each team. Is there a way to govern that so that we don't have sprawl? So definitely, the Center of Excellence Toolkit, they relatively recently released a Dataverse for Teams component for that to be able to govern and manage that. So everything that we get in the Center of Excellence Toolkit to manage our normal environments, our non-Dataverse for Teams environments, we can now do that on the Dataverse for Teams environments to be able to have dashboards and things to see all the environments that we have. The Power Platform Admin Center as well, let me actually switch there just to show you. Also includes, if we go to admin.powerplatform.com, it easily kind of shows us now whether this is a Dataverse for Teams environment or a Teams environment so that we can better manage that as well. So not only is there better management capabilities in the Admin Center itself, but if we add on the Center of Excellence Toolkit on top of it, it really helps us to govern and manage the sprawl of the teams that we have. So here on the Admin Center, if we go to the Environments tab, should see all the environments that we have, and we see that on the type now, we can easily see there's our Microsoft Teams, or whether it's a developer environment or a default environment. So we can go into the Scottish Summit, there we go, environment, and do all the typical admin tasks that we would want to for an environment. And including being able to upgrade. I mentioned that earlier. You know, if we start off building something inside of Dataverse for Teams and we decide we want to upgrade it to the full-fledged version of Dataverse, we can easily just click the upgrade button, and that will do all the hard work for us and upgrade that to the full capability of Dataverse. So hopefully that answers the question. Center of Excellence Toolkit, Dataverse for Teams components, and that will help you to govern and manage that. Yes?
Like you showed, is there a way to send a copy of the approval to someone else, just to loop them in, give them an FYI for like a leave request, for example?
Yeah, so in the approvals application, I think with those templates, you're limited, but you can add a custom, you can customize it, like add another field, like copy or something like that, like someone that you want to copy, and it would be able to do that. Yep. Yes?
Yeah, in the issues and the inspection apps, is there a way to export them out, to extend them out and develop them and then bring them in, rather than developing them and building them in teams while people are trying to use them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question there was, for the out-of-the-box templates there, can we export those to use those? For the template applications, I don't know actually off the top of my head if we can. I know one that you were to build by clicking new. You can export that and then put it into make.powers.com, but those template apps are already packaged, and I don't know if we can export those. I don't know if anyone else in the audience has tried that. I just haven't, but if you have, let me know. Yeah.
The only thing which I see is, it's very powerful in adding to your question is, I see a typical field service scenario. We have rather than going first party app, I was thinking that can we sort of use this as an offline scenario when you're going for an inspection or visit? Can we have them use the teams to do the inspection? Or is it better to sort of do a different offline app?
Yeah, so the question there is if we want to do offline applications, is it better to use Teams or something else? In that scenario, personally, I would probably just build that in make.powerapps.com using Dataverse's full offline capability. Because I don't know 100% that Dataverse for Teams would really support the offline approach there. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
When you turn the approvals up at the start, we mentioned it can go org wide. If you make it org wide, where does the data go? Which Dataverse team?
I think if it's org wide, and don't quote me on this, I think it actually goes in your default environment. I think. But I will double check on that and make sure that I'm not saying the wrong information there, but I'm pretty sure. Question? Yeah.
Dataverse Teams has a million lines limit on.
Yep.
Is that million lines for text type of activity, or when you put imagery in, does that actually reduce the number of lines?
Yeah. So is that million, the question was that million limit there include images and all that, yes. So images will eat up, so if you have like that inspection app where you're uploading a lot of images, that'll eat up a lot of the storage, yeah. Yes, Rory.
A couple points around accessibility. Personally, when I might start building a Dataverse for Teams app, you're kind of in there, you're doing great, made loads of progress, and you accidentally hit maybe the about tab, I think it was, and you just lose everything. And at that point, I'm afraid my emotional response to the development.
Yeah.
So I think that means that I kind of almost walk away from it thinking, well, I'll go and make an app using the
Yeah.
normal way of doing it. And so for me personally, it's been a blocker. I think the other thing is that the templates, they're brilliant because they're responsive, but they're also complex for somebody who doesn't know a lot about Power Apps to understand. I think one of the great advantages of just even that silly SharePoint app that loads of us have built is you could just read it, and it's human readable. So my challenge is around accessibility for developers.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point there. I mean, I've witnessed that too. Like I've been there, lost an app that I was building because I clicked the wrong button. I think that's a good point. I know someone in the audience that probably has a lot to say about that too, that we could give that feedback back. Yeah, we know who to yell at for that. And that's excellent feedback there. And yeah, I mean, I've been there and I feel your pains. So, cool. All right, we have like 2 minutes left. Any final questions here? Did I answer all? Okay.
Question,
yeah.
It was awesome. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. No, one more question, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things I think like doing a lot of enterprise app transformation and modernization. You were talking about, but one of the patterns I see that we're going to a customer, they have like 100, 200 apps, right? So one of the things that the Fusion team is pretty good with the API like. So what would you recommend, as in obviously you still want to build SharePoint, but if the app, the size we're talking about less than 2 GB, will that be better in terms of building as a database as a team rather than building like the canvas? I mean, what sort of guidance you should be following as a best practice?
Yeah, so good question. So general question there is like, when do we know to build something, say, in Dataverse for Teams versus, the full-fledged version? I would say, yeah, obviously size, right? So to your point, like if you know you're going to be under that 2 gigabyte, that 1 million the records capacity, then Dataverse for Teams is something that you could consider. Now, obviously, as we've talked about today, it's not as seamless as a development experience as the Make.PowerApps.com portal, but what are you? The benefit of it being, if you want that seamless experience in Teams, to me, that's what it all comes down to there. So do you want it to feel like a true native Teams application? Is that very important to you? Is it important to you to have the security layer that Teams offers for like and then kind of align to that security? And do you need anything in Dataverse that for whatever reason you don't want to pay for the full licensing, like being able to data flows to import data in there? If all that's a yes, I would consider probably Dataverse for Teams. If that's no, if it's going to be a larger application, if you maybe don't care, like just embedding the experience, maybe not being truly responsive in Teams and really tightly aligned, then I would go the regular Canvas app approach. Because as we saw, I mean, you could still integrate a regular Canvas app in Teams and it will work pretty beautifully, as we saw in that quick chat example. So it's just, I just see it as one option that fits, a lot of kind of more like a line of business, like simple use cases, like the leave request where you want it to be more streamlined, but it's not by any means going to be the end all be all. It's going to be a more smaller subset of apps that you might build that'll be a fit for Dataverse for Teams specifically. Yeah. All right, well, we are actually over 1 minute and I don't want to keep the speaker, so thank you so much.